Hey babes, welcome back to yet another episode of Literally My Life, the podcast. It's your girl Alex, but I'm better known now as Chicago Barbie. Saying that is still so foreign to me. It's a foreign concept. Like when I go out and people are like, "Oh, are you Chicago Barbie?" and I'm like, "Wow, I forgot people call me that." But I love it. I love you guys, and I'm so excited to be back for another episode. I apologize for getting this episode to you late. We've been having some issues, like me and my friend who produced this podcast. We've been having issues editing and getting some previous episodes that we recorded out. And so it's just kind of thrown off my schedule. But I'm sorry, guys. I promise the rest of the episodes while I'm on break will be on time. I promise. Don't beat me up. Don't beat me up. Don't beat me up. So for today's episode, I was thinking if you meet me for the first time, whether that's online, which most of you have, or campus, or at a party, or at a game, what would you think about me? What would you think about me? It's been like a thing that's been reoccurring in my head a lot. And I want to make sure that as we get into this episode, we're going to be clearing up a lot of misconceptions about me, and I'm going to be telling you guys some fun facts about myself. It's kind of like a get to know me in a way. But this is about self-reflection. It is not about ego. I do not have an ego. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm actually very humble and grounded in real life, despite the persona I put on for social media. So this isn't about defending myself. It's about understanding myself. Because I feel like there's a lot of things that you see online that isn't true. At the end of the day, the way we know people online is it's parasocial. Like we don't know people that we see online. So I want you guys to actually know me, not in a parasocial way, not in a weird way, but actually get to know me, some of the stuff I don't share online. And I just thought it would be a good way to kind of clear up some of the misconceptions about myself and just teach our new listeners a little bit about the person that they get advice from every week. And, what people get wrong, I want to talk about what people get right and who I actually am now. But before we get into any of this, make sure to follow Literally My Life's TikTok and Instagram. Both links are in our episode description, along with subscribing to our YouTube channel if you're not on YouTube, because I post a lot of really cool vlogs on there, and the Alex Elamine Show, and subscribe to our blog every single week except for once. Along with our podcast, I post a blog. I basically just talk about everything I talk about in the podcast, and I also give you guys really cool beauty tips. I talk about what's on my radar. It's the coolest thing. Make sure to check it out. Go subscribe to our blog, because if you're listening to our podcast every week and not reading our blog, I just don't get it. They're literally companions. They're like peanut butter and jelly. They're Batman and Robin. We have to put them together. And go shop on my LTK and Amazon storefront for Christmas gifts for everybody in your life. Okay, let's get into our very first segment, what people get wrong about me. Okay, so the first thing I think a lot of people get wrong about me is that people think I'm intimidating. But I'm actually very shy until I feel safe. I was very extroverted in high school. I'm going to tell you guys about that. So I'm a freshman in college. I just graduated high school in May. I moved from Chicago, Illinois, the city of Chicago, to Boulder, Colorado, college. I was super extroverted in high school. I swear I could be anybody's friend and talk to anybody. And then I get to college and it feels like this flip, like just the switch just flips. And now that I'm a little looking back at it, first semester is over, I've realized that a lot of people took that as me being stuck up or intimidating, where it's just like I'm kind of shy until I feel safe. I have a guard up. High school was a little hard for me. I think I've shared that on here before. I had a great time. I made so many great friends. I went to an amazing school, so I'm never going to complain too much about it, but I struggled socially in high school and I got burned a few times, so it's hard for me to make new friends, or I'm not being one of those people oh, I have trust issues or whatever, because I'm not like that. But it's hard for me to let my guard down with people. It's something I'm working on in therapy. But it's just a little hard for me because, when you get your heart hurt by somebody that's your friend or somebody that you really care about, no matter the context, it hurts. And I try to guard my heart, because getting my heart hurt, it sucks to me. One of my favorite Nicki Minaj lyrics, even though she's done a lot this year, but I respect her legacy, was, "You gotta protect me, you gotta sweat me, you said you thought you was ready and I said let's see, but I ain't mean that, I need some effing proof, because what happens if I fall in love and you just cut me loose?" Literally, that makes me think about it all the time. What happens if I fall for you, I think you're really my friend, or I really like you, and you just cut me loose? That's happened to me before. That actually happened to me over the summer, which I've talked about her relentlessly, and it sucks. So I've put my heart up, because when I'm vulnerable with it and people take advantage of it, I hate that feeling. I hate being heartbroken. I hate being sad. I find it to be so upsetting, and just it blocks you in a way. It blocks you from being productive and steals your motivation. It makes you depressed, and is unnecessary most of the time, I think. Another thing I think people assume about me is that confidence means I don't get anxious, which is not true. I think we can all tell that I'm a pretty confident person, and it's something that I'm completely unapologetic for. I like to be myself. I like myself, and I take no issue with that. I feel like a lot of people look at that though as like an ego or whatever, but I look at it as, if I don't like myself, who will? I think that people treat us as a reflection of ourselves, and I think people treat me better now that I'm confident and I like myself versus when I was younger and I was super insecure. That's something I probably haven't shared on here. When I was like 13, 14, I think it was like my freshman year of high school, that was the only year, and probably like my 8th grade, 7th grade years, I was very insecure, extremely insecure. Like, it was so bad. I was very insecure about the way that I looked. That was the biggest thing in me. I went through this phase, like every teenage girl I feel like goes through it, but I went through this phase where I would just compare myself to like Instagram models. It was so bad. I had the lowest self-esteem. I would look at my phone and I would be like, why don't I look like Summer Rae? Because she was super popular at the time. That's how old I am. Why don't I look like Ash Cash? Like, why don't I look like, why aren't I pretty like that or whatever? I was 13, and these are fully like gorgeous women, but they were grown women and they had grown into their grown women faces, and I still had my baby face, and I don't know why I was comparing myself to them, but it was miserable to hate myself. So then I decided around the 10th grade, when I started to grow into my face a little bit and lose a little bit of the baby fat, I was like, no matter what I look like or what I'm going to do, I'm just going to like myself. That's just going to be the general consensus of me for the rest of my life, because to hate yourself is to waste the person that you are. So I'm not going to hate myself. That's just how I feel about things. And that's just my philosophy about it. I think a lot of people also think that when you're so confident, you don't get anxious about things or whatever. But the truth is, I get anxious all the time. I work in sports media, and when I was first starting out, you have to be very ambitious and very hungry, especially when you're independent. You're 18, like you can't get any jobs at any major news stations or whatever. So you don't have credentials to most things. And most games that I've covered, whether they were professional games or high school games or whatever, I've had to fight for press passes or fight for interviews or whatever. And that's been a real struggle. Like, behind the scenes, it can get very ugly. You can be disrespected solely for being a woman or being young or both. And I get anxious about that all the time. I've had to fight. Like, I'm not trying to sound like all my life I had to fight, because that's not true. Like, I've definitely like had a really great life. But career wise, I've definitely had to work hard for everything that I have. And I'm not ashamed of that at all. But it does make me anxious at times, because I know that there are people who have advantages on me, who come from nepotism or who know people, because journalism, 90% of it is networking. So if you know more people than I am, essentially than I do, then essentially you could be more successful than I am. So it just makes me anxious a lot. It stays on my mind. We're going to get into that a little bit, but I definitely do get anxious. I have anxiety. I think I've talked about that on here. Like, I have to literally see a shrink every week because I have anxiety. People think I'm always on. Even my sister said that to me, like I'm always on, like I have this character, this persona. When the truth is, I need a lot of alone time. Chicago Barbie isn't a character. Like, I'm definitely authentic with you guys. I'm definitely showing you guys every aspect in every area of my life. Like, this is me 24/7. I act the same. But I do have, like, I work in media, so I definitely do have like a persona where I'm just super, polished and super talkative, and I act like a girl who's never made a mistake in her life, and that's not the truth. I also act like this big extrovert and whatever, and I am a huge extrovert. I love meeting people. I love talking to new people, but I definitely need time to recharge my social battery. I thrive the most at home. I love just like sitting in bed with my mom watching the Real Housewives of Potomac or like QVC or something corny. I need a lot of time to rest and recharge. I don't think I show that a lot. I think a lot of the time I'm on social media, I show you guys like me hustling, 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 getting whatever. But I do rest a lot. I think Vlogmas has exposed me. I also want to address a few misconceptions about myself. So, as somebody who really cares about their appearance or puts an effort into their appearance, a lot of people associate that with the fact that like they think I'm shallow. I'm not shallow. I know that life, especially at the age that I'm at now, I know that life is a lot more to life and a lot more to a person than their looks. I've met so many, like, who cares if you're beautiful if you're just a sucky person? I remember I was in I'm not going to say the grade because I really don't know, but I met a guy one time and he was gorgeous, like one of the most beautiful people I think I've ever seen in my life. And he had a horrible personality. He was just a piece of poo. And I'm not here to judge him or condemn him. We were young and whatever. But I just remember I thought to myself, I think that was the realization. I was like, I don't care how gorgeous you are or how tall you are or how athletic you are because you have a horrible personality. And nobody cares how beautiful you are or how attractive or how thin you are if you're not nice to people, if you're not kind, if you're not humble with it. That's something my mom has taught me from a young age. She's taught me about being pretty on the outside, being pretty on the inside. And being pretty on the inside really does matter. I also think a lot of people mix up being ambitious with being unkind. Being a woman in a predominantly male work field, there's a lot of times I've been called diva, bossy, the B word, a couple of things, right? And those are just sexist titles. You know, when a woman demands something for herself, when a woman won't accept less for herself, when a woman won't shrink herself down to make other people feel comfortable, then she's bossy, then she's the B word, then she's all kinds of things. But when the man does the same thing, I feel like a man is ambitious and he's determined and he's driven and he doesn't take no for an answer. And those are all good things, you know. It's all just sexism. That's unfortunately something I have to deal with within my field, but I love my field and I love everybody that I work with. And fortunately, in the position that I am today, like I haven't had to deal with that, but that's something that I've definitely dealt with in the past. So a lot of people who have worked with me or seen me behind the scenes, like automatically assume that I'm unkind or I'm kind of rude or, you know, all those kinds of things, like I'm a diva or whatever. That's a big rumor about me. Not true at all. I'm actually very simple. It's very easy to make me happy. I think I'm happy right now. Like I'm the happiest person, and I can admit that, you know, in all honesty with you guys, I can be a little like bit of a perfectionist when it comes to the sports stuff. I definitely work so hard and I want everything to be perfect, but other than that, I'm great. And I think a lot of people think being visible equals being unbothered, and that's just not true. You know, I do like to share myself on social media. I do love sharing my life with you guys, and I'm working to share more and more of that through live streams and through other things that I'm working on. So I love being authentic with you guys online. I think it's the funnest thing, but it does hurt when people say things about me online. I was on live the other day and somebody was like calling me the N word and calling me fat and whatever. And I was, you know, dealing it with grace and resilience. And like my most media trained Michelle Obama response is like, they're going low, I'm going to go high, you know, that whole thing. But it hurts. It hurts my feelings. It hurts to like have people sit down and just write such negative things about you. And it sometimes makes you question, hey, can I take this? Is it worth this? You know, is it worth all of the benefits and all of the love and the great things that I receive if I'm going to continue to receive so much pushback and so much feedback? And the answer is yes. The answer is always yes. Let's head to our second segment, what people actually get right about me. I do work very hard. Nothing about my life is accidental. That's something I feel like sometimes people, not as much in Boulder, because like a lot of people think I'm from the hood for some reason. I don't really know where that came from. But a lot of people I feel don't recognize how hard I work. I am very ambitious. I'm very hardworking. And I'm not here to brag on myself. Like I probably do procrastinate way too much and yeah. But when I want something, I feel like if God tells me yes, nobody's gonna tell me no. And if I want something bad enough or hard enough, I'm going to work and work and work and working to get it. I remember one of my favorite Coach Prime quotes was like, you must not want it that much if you're taking no for an answer. Like he was like, you gotta want it more than you apparently do. I think those were his words. And it just inspired me. I was like, yes, like I have to want it more than I apparently do. I can't take no for an answer. I have to continue to be ambitious. I have to continue to be hardworking. And that's just the way I was raised. That's just how I was. My mom trained me to be like that. I feel like Chicago kind of shapes each other to be like that. Like there's just a different ambition and a hustle from people in Chicago. I just think that's it. I'm very deeply emotional. I feel everything. I feel like a lot of people don't know that because I put on a very tough persona online or, you know, whatever. But I'm very emotional. I cry a lot. I don't cry as much as I used to because I'm so much happier with my life. But I cry a lot. I feel everything. Everything. I have a big spirit of discernment. I can meet people and feel, you know, their energy and their spirit. And when people do something to me that makes me feel the slightest bit of like, oh, I'm a burden or I'm making them uncomfortable. I feel it. I feel the shift. I like read it very well. I'm just very deeply emotional and sensitive. So the littlest things can hurt my feelings. The littlest things can bring me down or make me cry. But I have a God who replenishes me and reminds me that I'm okay and I'm going to be okay. So I've been working on the sensitivity thing, but I used to be like really sensitive. Like it was really bad. I'm very serious about my dreams. That's something I think people do get right about me. I'm not going to take no for an answer. I think God wouldn't give me a dream this this big if it wasn't for me. Like I said, if God tells you yes, no human, no angel in heaven, and no demon in hell can tell you no. And it's just the truth. It's just the truth. I'm very serious about the things that I want for myself. I work very hard for the things that I want myself. No, I do have days where I slip. Vlogmas is coming out today, and you guys will get to see what I did today. I wanted to do a few other things. I wanted to work for some other things, and I didn't get all that done today. So I do have days where I slip. Like, I'm not perfect at all. But I just always have to remind myself, I don't know who taught me this, but there's always somebody out there who has the same vision or the same goal as you, or somebody out there who wants it more than you. So you can never get off your game, ever. Like, you have to, what did Coach Prime say? You gotta want it more than you apparently do. And that stays in the back of my head. There's somebody out there who wants it more than I do. I have to keep going. I have to stay on my game. But it's also okay to rest and recharge. Another thing I think people get right about me is that I care about people probably a lot more than I should. A few people have come up to me and told me that, like, sometimes from watching my videos, they can tell that I have a big heart, especially when I've talked about like story times with friendships or guys or whatever. A lot of people can see that I am a bit of a pushover, and I've shared that on here a million times. I probably care about people more than I should. I just have a big heart, and I don't say that to sound like one of those church people, like, I just have a big heart, but I really do, in the sense of, like, I know there have been people in my life, and especially with God and my relationship with God, there have been people in my life who have given me so many chances to become a better person and be a better person, because the person that I am today, I was not always this person. I've had this podcast for about 2 years now, and if you go back and watch some of our OG episodes and stuff, you'll see that I'm very different. The way I talk is very different. The way that I, like, everything about me is a lot different. I was not always the way that I am. I made a lot of mistakes in my past, and I've been redeemed from those mistakes. I've been saved from those mistakes. I was crucified for those mistakes. So I try to do the same thing with other people, but I feel like the only way that that works is if somebody can take full accountability for the way that they were and then commit themselves to changing their ways. And that's what I did. And so people have been able to give me second chances, and everything's gone smoothly. But when I've done it with certain people, not all people, it's just not worked out. Yeah, I probably do care about people more than I should. Even now, I'll be honest and share this with you guys. I had a very close friend, and we fell out, and we had a very public and nasty fallout. And I still care about her a lot. I still think about her a lot. We're on good terms now. We just talked on the phone the other day, but I still care about her a lot. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't care so much, but I just feel like the whole situation still weighs on me so much, and it probably shouldn't. It's probably shouldn't be something that keeps me up at night or I feel bad about or whatever, but I still do for some reason. I don't know why. Let's talk to my shrink about it. God gave me a big heart, and God gave me a big vision, and sometimes that's a lot to carry. But there are a lot of things that I carry well, and there are a lot of things that I don't carry so well. And I think you guys do a very good job at recognizing both. Okay, let's head to our third segment. What surprises people once they actually get to know me? So the first thing I think a lot of people are surprised are how spiritual I actually am. When I post about God or whatever, people are just like, oh, she's just whatever. She's not really a Christian. I've had a lot of people say that to me. But when I actually make friends and then I'll talk about like whatever I read in the Bible or like some of the teachings that I've been taught or whatever, I keep saying or whatever. I'm not trying to undermine God. I'm just not the best speaker. As you guys all know, you guys know I stutter and I talk fast and whatever. People are very surprised that I actually follow the teachings of God, or that I actually take my relationship with God seriously. I'm not a perfect Christian. Nobody's perfect. And you don't go to heaven by being a good person. I think a lot of people get that wrong. You don't go to heaven, or we're not able to have a relationship with God because of who we are. It's because of who He is, because we will never be good enough for God. Ever. No matter what you do, or no matter what you say, or whatever. We are sinners. That's just what we are. The human race is sin. Like, we're just sinners. That's what happened when Eve bit the apple. Actually, as did you guys know, in the Bible, it is nowhere. I went back and read it. Nowhere is it mentioned that it was an apple. Was eating a mango this whole time? These are questions to ask later on. But I just think a lot of people are surprised about that. I know I'm not perfect. I know I've cursed like on social media before. I know I've done some really crazy things on social media before and in real life. But I'm working on it. I'm changing. Okay? I'm changing. Don't call me out, homegirls. But Please don't call me that. No, no, hold me accountable. Call me out. I actually do like it. But yeah, I just want to remind people of that. I don't have a relationship with God because of who I am. It's because of who He is. Another thing I think people are very surprised about is how disciplined I am behind the scenes. I know that I come off as this big party girl. I do love to go to a party. I love to have a good time. I love to hang out with my friends, whatever. But I am so big on my goals. I'm so big on achieving the things that I want to achieve for myself because I've just always envisioned myself to, like, I've just always known since I was very young that I was capable of more and that I could do great things. And I'm not trying to sound like I have an ego or whatever. I've just always known that. So I've always pushed myself to do more than the status quo, and I will always do so. And so a lot of people see how disciplined I am, like when I'm like, oh, I have to do the podcast and I write my own blog and I do all these things with social media, or I also have a whole sports hustle. Like I have all these side hustles. Like I do social media, I do motivational speaking, beauty content, I do sports media, which is a whole profession and a whole career. I'm also a family girl. Like I'm obsessed with my mom. I'm obsessed with my dad. I'm obsessed with my sisters. I have all kinds of things going on top of pursuing a relationship with Christ and trying to get my life together. And a lot of people are like, wow, how do you do it? And the answer is I don't. A lot of people ask me that all the time. How do you have the time to do all these things? How do you do it all? I don't. So yeah, I think a lot of people are also very surprised how I'd rather be at home, like journaling or like being with my mom, than be at a party. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love to go out. You go and watch any of my TikToks, go follow our TikTok. You will see me getting ready to go out for Thirsty Thursday and Techno Tuesday. And I just have so much fun. Like, don't get me wrong. But I love being at home. I'm really a homebody. Like, I feel like that's a big misconception. There's nothing better than a home cooked meal to me. There's nothing better than my bed. And there's nothing better than spending time with my mom. Nothing to me. That's my paradise. Like being at home, like I don't know if college is gonna get me back. Like being even touching my wall right now, it just feels so good. Love, love, love being at home. And I also think people are very surprised how sensitive I am to energy and like vibes. I feel like I have a spirit of discernment, and I feel like God reveals to me very fast whether this is a person for me or not. It is so weird. I wish I can like articulate myself well enough to explain the spirit of discernment to you guys, but I'm so like sensitive to it. I think that's kind of like why people come like think I'm like intimidating, like why I come off like that. But I'm just trying to evaluate, are you somebody that I should let in my life? Are you somebody that I should let my guard down and trust? Because like I said, if you hurt my feelings, it's going to suck. And I don't like to have my feelings hurt. I hate it. I hate it so much. And I try to avoid it as much as possible. And I think people are also surprised how deeply I observe people. You know, I love to, especially when I really love or care about a person, I love to see their day to day lives. I love to observe their habits and their hobbies and the things that make them happy and the things that make them sad and all of the above. And I cannot articulate myself or anything. And it's just something that's one of my favorite traits about myself. Again, not bragging, but I just love to think about the people that I love and do nice things for them. Like, actually, never said this on here, guys. Don't judge me. When I was like a kid, I had to be like 14. I was like dating this guy, and I was like going out with this guy, and for his like 14th birthday, I think, I got him a book of poems that I wrote solely about him. And the whole poetry book was titled He is the Moon. And the book was like just poems about like him and comparing him to like the solar system and all kinds of very sweet, cool metaphors because he reminded me so much of the moon. Like, you know, the moon follows you home because I always felt like he was with me. Or like, you know, the moon is like gloomy, but it's bright and it lights up our nights. That's what it is with him. Like he looks intimidating, he looks gloomy, but he's very bright on the inside and has beautiful personality. He's like the guiding light. Like it was so sweet. It's the nicest thing I've ever done. And he cried when he got it. I can't believe I told you guys about that. Because we're like girlfriends. I love you guys. No, I just think like this is my Chicago Barbie take on it. I think people expect glamour from me 24/7, but there's a lot of prayer, there's a lot of notes app, there's a lot of like Dutch bros that you just don't see in between. Okay, let's get into our segment 4, the version of me that you're meeting now. Because like I said earlier, I'm a very different person than the girl who started this podcast junior year. I love that this podcast is like a digital diary of my recovery. I love this podcast. Oh my goodness. I'm a lot calmer now than I used to be. I say this all the time now that I moved to Boulder. People will say very out of pocket things or just do some kind of crazy things. That's just how people are in life. And I used to react so like defensively because I was like, I'm not gonna let anybody hurt me or whatever. But now I don't care. Now I'm a lot calmer than I used to be. Greatness doesn't retaliate. I've learned that. And I've learned that I read a quote and it was so like in my heart. It said that I wanted revenge so bad, but God whispered to me that they're already suffering. And I was like, that is not a word. I don't know. I don't know what one is because it's the truth. I've learned I don't need to retaliate. I don't need to get my get back. I don't need any of that. I let God do the working for me. You decide, like, I've just learned if you decide to hurt or say something rude to somebody who A hasn't done really anything to you, like, I'm just chasing a bag online, guys. Or B really did have pure intentions with you, then that's your fault and that has nothing to do with me. Like, I've just learned that. I see a lot of stories online about people who were abandoned by their families or by somebody that they loved or they trusted or broken up with or heartbroken or cheated on or whatever. And I feel like the biggest issue with that is a lot of people internalize, why did they abandon me? Why did my mother not want me? Why did he break up with me? Why did he cheat on me or whatever? And I've learned the key to not internalizing any of that stuff that's happened to me or any of that stuff that's said about me because it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with them either. If your mother or your father or anyone around you chooses to abandon you at birth, it's not because you aren't perfect or because you aren't loved or because you aren't saved and redeemed. It's because of them and their choices. And you can't carry the weight of that. That's something my mother taught me very young, and I didn't really understand it until I got older. And that's why I'm so calm now. I'm not going to carry the weight of how you treated me because I mean so much more than what I mean to you. I'm also not changing validation the same way that I used to. I got my heart broken over the summer. We've talked about it extensively on here. I can't talk about it anymore. I'm tired of talking about it. But I do know that it changed me a lot. And I know that it changed the way that I chase validation now. And now I chase my validation in the Lord and not anybody else here on earth. And I think it's a great thing because at one point, my ego was so bruised because I was chasing validation from someone that could not validate me properly. And it was hard, it was hurtful, and it was something that I do not wish on my worst enemy. It was one of the worst feelings. I cried. I told God, like, I don't want to feel like this ever again. It was very, very hard for me. Very. And then I realized I'm never going to let anybody make me feel like that ever again because I have the power to do that. And the way that I'm not going to do that, like let that ever happen to me again, is that I'm going to chase validation from God because to Him I'm worthy, to Him I am perfect, to Him I am saved and highly favored and redeemed. And I'm not going to chase validation from any guy, from any person, from online. I'm not going to chase it from anywhere, but I find my worth in Christ now. And I'm a lot happier doing that, let me tell you. I'm also learning when to walk away quietly. I don't, I used to have God, I used to be in a lot of drama. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was messy in high school. Forgive me, forgive me. I was a little messy in high school. I'm sorry about it. And I used to just have these big falling outs or whatever. And I've learned now that I'm a little older and I'm an adult, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to have these dramatic walkways or whatever. I can just back away quietly. Once I realize, hey, maybe this isn't for me. Once I pray, hey, God, reveal if this is not for me, and I see it's not, I don't have to owe you any explanation because God is going to do the explaining for me. And yeah, I remember I did the removal prayer back in May, and God removed this man out of my life. And I still went after him after. I know. I'm very ashamed for our video podcast watchers. I can't even look at you guys. I'm putting my head down in shame. But I'm learning when to walk away quietly and how to move past certain situations. I'm also a girl now who trusts God more than outcomes. I've learned that's the biggest lesson I think I've learned this year is surrender. I'm learning to surrender every aspect of my life to God. As a control freak, that is very hard for me, but I'm learning to do it. And the key to doing that is by surrendering every day. Not just saying like, okay, here, take it one time. Like you have to tell him that continuously and continuously because it works. I'm learning to trust God with my health, with my family, with school, with my social media, with career, everything. And it's hard. It is hard because, like I said, I'm a control freak. I'm working on it. I'm working on it, guys. I promise. I promise. I promise. I promise. But I'm learning to trust God more than any outcome that I desire, because I finally learned that God's will is so much better and greater than mine. So I know that I don't have to worry, I don't have to fear for anything, because if everything's going to go to God's perfect plan, which is much like, it's out of my comprehension. It's much better than I could ever want or expect, and I just trust God with it. And I feel like I'm learning to choose alignment over attention. Like I said, I used to chase validation from the wrong things and the wrong people. I used to use distractions a lot. Like, that's something I feel like I could talk about on here. I could do a whole episode on that. And I've just learned to choose different things now. That's the growth. I feel like you guys are looking at a completely different person. I feel like you really are. From early 2020, early 2024 me to late 2025 me, two different people. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've just learned that I don't need attention, and I used to get attention by creating chaos and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't need any of that. I'm choosing my divine alignment from the Lord over this craziness that I used to chase. Hallelujah. Much better person now. And I'm becoming someone that I can rest inside, and somebody that I'm proud of. Let's move into my favorite segment, segment 5, which is our Ask Alex. Now, guys, if you want to submit your Ask Alex questions for a chance to be featured on the next episode of Literally My Life, make sure to submit your questions to our Ask Alex link. It is in our episode description below. It's a Google form, completely anonymous. You don't have to leave any details, I promise. But I love answering your Ask Alex questions. It's my favorite segment. So please submit your questions, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, everybody that I've submitted to so far has really liked my answers. Okay, first one. Hi, Alex. How do you stay confident when you're the only Black woman in the room? Oh, this is a really good question. How do I stay confident when I'm the only Black woman in the room? I just have to know that just because I'm different, it doesn't make me any less special or whatever. Being different doesn't make me isolated. And I just have to remember that. Like, especially moving to Colorado, there's a lot of times where I'm the only Black person in the room. I'm the only Black woman there. And I'm confident and I'm strong in that. And I feel like a lot of people want you to shrink yourself because you're the only Black person in the space. And it's very important that you're proud of who you are, proud of your race, proud of where you come from. I'm a Black girl from Chicago. I'm like Jenny from the block. I'm always going to rep it no matter where I go. I'm still the same old girl from the block. And I'm proud of that. That's a really great question. Second, Alex, how do you balance ambition with protecting your peace? Good question. I am still learning that balance. There are times where I feel like I can go into overkill and I kind of just let my ambition drive me crazy a little bit. That's the anxiety. Okay, me and the shrink have talked about it. I'm learning to take time to rest. Rest is not laziness. Rest is actually biblical, which I've learned. It's good to rest. It's hard for me to rest though, because I'm just like a very anxious, like hyper person. But I'm learning to rest. It is biblical. It is good to rest and reset and charge. I'm learning to get my 10 hours every night and just take care of myself. Like, I take bubble baths every night. I journal. I do things for me to fill my own cup up, so that when I'm working, I can work and give it my best me. I can give it my best mind, my best ability, because I reset myself and I fill my own cup. Okay, last one. What's a Chicago Barbie non-negotiable in life? God. Absolutely. Whatever you lose, you can lose everything. Do not lose the Lord. Do not lose God. That is my biggest philosophy. I learned that from some pastor. I can't remember which pastor it was. It was such an amazing sermon. Whatever you lose in life, you can lose everything. Do not lose God. Do not lose your faith in the Lord. God has really changed and transformed my life over the years. I've always believed in God, but I've really gotten to know God over the last year, I would say, or the last year and a half or so. And that has just changed my life and my character completely. And I can only thank and praise him for it. And I'm glad and I'm happy to be in the place that I am in my life. But I also look back at the times where I was struggling, or, this time last year, and I just look at how God really changed things around for me. And I will always be grateful for that. Like, he gave me a second chance at life completely. We talked about that in our last episode. We've talked about that this time last year. He gave me a complete second chance at life. And without God, without the power of God behind everything that I do, I really am completely inadequate. Okay, guys, I love doing our Ask Alex segment. Thank you guys so much for submitting your questions. Again, if you want your question to be featured on our next episode of Literally My Life, make sure to submit your questions to our Ask Alex links. It's in the Google form in the episode description. It is completely anonymous, by the way. We don't tell people business over here. We don't. We're very anonymous over here, and I love answering you guys' questions. I love interacting with you guys. I love you guys so much. I'm like a drunk girl in the bathroom. I just love you guys. Okay, So, okay, this was an amazing episode. I'm so glad that I decided to do it. And I just want to make sure that you guys know you don't owe people access to every version of you. I'm choosing to share this with you guys. I choose to talk about my past because I've been saved and redeemed, but you don't have to do that. Is it a good testimony story and it might lead others to Christ? Yes. But you don't have to do it necessarily, although I strongly recommend it. But you don't owe people access to every version of you or every version of your life. Actually, the less you share, the better, actually. Don't overshare with people. That's something that I used to do a lot. And I want to invite reflection, and I leave you guys with this question. If you met you for the first time, who would you meet? I really want to know that question. If this episode felt like a mirror, share it with someone you love. I love you guys, and thank you guys for listening to yet another episode of Literally My Life, the podcast. I am obsessed with you guys. I will see you guys here again next Monday. And before we sign off, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter, follow our social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and get presents for everybody in your life off of our Amazon storefront and LTK. It's Chicago Barbie signing off, and I love you guys. See you guys next week.